Ladies and gentlemen, next we have a panel discussion titled Hyperpower in Cybersecurity. How to resist the challenges of a turbulent cyber. And I would like to invite to the stage the moderator of this panel. He's the director and key accounts of BI.ZONE. Please put your hand together for Alexander Tushkanov.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm really honored and excited to be the moderator of this last closing panel discussion for today. I hope you still have some energy left because we kept all the good secrets till the end. I was a bit tired too, but then I met our speakers backstage and we had a chat, and I'm feeling really excited. I'm sure you're gonna love our speakers. And let's wait no longer. I'm going to now invite and welcome our dear speakers on stage. Please welcome Saad Al-Garni, CISO at Mala'a Technologies, Ruby Kaira, VP of Sales at Firemon, Mohammed Al-Tamimi, Regional Sales Managers at Akamai, and Ala Khalid, Director Cybersecurity Operation and GRC at Ma'aden, Saudi Arabia Mining Company. Welcome, everybody. I need to do a little intro for our discussion. You know, I've been listening to all the sessions, most of the sessions today, and I think we already set the tone for our discussion. I'm not going to say that threat landscape is changing. I think you all know that. Yeah, I'm not going to say that cybercrime is on the rise. I don't need to say that, do I? I think we all know what's going on. So what I want to do is I want to pick the minds of our professionals here and ask them what they're working on a day-to-day basis and how they're solving their problems. Maybe they can share some real cases with us. So let's start. My first question is for all the speakers. Can you name top 3 or 1 or 2 or 10 challenges that you're facing today? What keeps you awake at night? Yeah, what were you working on yesterday? What were you working on a week before that? For your company and for your industry, what are the main challenges? Ala, let's start with you.
Okay, so thank you, Alex, for this introduction. Let me start first. As a mining company, we're working with a lot of OT, operational technology, and this is the biggest challenge for us, especially that on OT we have a lot of legacy systems, and these legacy systems become more vulnerable to cyber threats. The cybersecurity OT technology, operation technology, was not designed with cybersecurity on mind. So it's hard to protect them, and the architecture of these are very difficult. So to keep them secure, this is one of, and how to monitor them, how to connect them to IT, this is a biggest challenge for us as a mining company. So the second challenge is for sure cybersecurity capabilities on the market around the world. There is not a lot of capabilities when related to cybersecurity, and to manage cyber threats, you need these capabilities on the market. Okay, thank you.
2 top challenges. Yeah,
yeah,
you have 2. All right, Mohammed.
Yeah, assalamu alaikum, everyone. This is Mohammed from Akamai. I'll share from my experience from today, and I've worked with cybersecurity company, with infrastructure company, with ransomware recovery solutions. What I see as top 3 challenges is companies are advancing. We're having a lot of applications. We're not closed anymore. We need to have more interface with clients to generate more business. Challenges I see is number 1, ransomware attacks. They are like, I'd say it's one of the most dangerous attacks. DDoS as well. But also what we noticed is that hackers started using DDoS attack or any other attacks as a distraction, because it needs a lot of resources to be able to manage this. And then they can do backdoor attacks or ransomware attacks. So we really need to be alert on this one. Third thing is hackers don't hack in anymore. They just log in. So we need to be very careful. We need to deploy more secure and zero trust approach to avoid this. One more last thing, I mentioned 3, I'll mention 4, is when it comes to ransomware and encryption, they started going to your backup environment and encrypting backup to make it much more difficult to recover and restore.
Okay, Ruby?
Yes, so thank you, Alex. So I obviously have the privilege as part of my role to speak to many organizations, and there are, of course, several themes that you will no doubt have heard and are hearing throughout the show. Of course, ransomware attack, but I think it's more about the way that they do the exploitation. It's more around breaching that data, but using that data also to then make that public, right? So the threat is more than just ransomware. It's both financial and therefore reputational as well, which many organizations that I deal with are challenged with. We've heard and we see a lot about, obviously, AI. I was talking to a CISO just a couple of weeks back where their CEO's voice had been mimicked to then be used to try to extract money by talking to an employee where the employee actually thought he was talking to the CEO. And fortunately, at the very last minute, they were able to intercept that so that no financial damage was made to the organization. The biggest challenge that we often hear about, though, is misconfiguration within your infrastructure. So whilst it might seem very simplistic, you know, I've got a technology, I want to ensure that it's configured correctly. Oftentimes, where organizations are running, say, for example, legacy and net new product, it's very difficult to ensure that the configurations are such that it doesn't compromise the environment. I mean, if we think about what Gartner say, 84% of all breaches happen due to misconfiguration, it's a very big, relevant area of topic that many of our customers talk to us about.
All right. Thank you. Okay, Saad, your challenges?
Yes. I think one of the biggest challenges that we face in our industry, which is finance or fintech industry, increasing the surface attack. Surface attack has been increased because we rely on technology. We rely on digitalization. As much as you rely on the digital, as much you have a fair share of a threat and to be attacked, to be targeted. I think this is one of the challenges. That means you need to spend a lot of money to bring a very mature solution to be in ahead, one step from attacker to be in protection, good situation for protection. Then also to be engaging, let's say, security controls for defense, response, and recovery, to have a lot of controls on ground. But this is one of the biggest challenges that we face. The second challenge, I think, about shortage of cybersecurity professionals. We have a high turnover for cybersecurity guys in this field. Unfortunately, this is not a good situation to make stability for cybersecurity, because once you want to build a robust cybersecurity process and to need to be in good situation for reliability, you need to make sure your team is stable. Without stability, you cannot, for your team, you cannot be in robust process and robust, let's say, plan or strategies to achieve, to be aligned, to be ahead in cybersecurity, in good situation. I can share these two. I think it's enough.
If you allow me to add, Alex, since Mr. Saad mentioned the digital transformation in Saudi Arabia. So beside that challenge, because you said something keep me awake. So this year, the thing that keep me awake is the AI. So every organization want to use the AI, want to use more technology, more digital, and no one knows about the AI. It's a new technology on the market, and you cannot keep people from not using the AI. So I think for this year, the biggest challenge for us is the AI in every organization.
It's a challenge.
It's
mainly
a challenge around the world. Right?
That's a lot of challenges. You know, I've been writing them down. DDoS attacks, ransomware, misconfiguration, voice mimicking, shortage of professionals. That's a lot of challenges. Well, I was hoping maybe you can give some of real examples of these attacks or how these challenges actually intercept your business. Mohammed, maybe you can start. You have a lot. You're a leading content delivery and DDoS protection provider. I'm sure you have a lot of examples. Maybe you can share some of them. Yeah.
Sure. I'll give two real-life examples. Example number one, without naming the customer, the country, or the sector, but the customer was hit by ransomware. Production was encrypted, backup was encrypted, systems were down, and the ransom note was on one of the machines. فندفع الفدية to pay like $1 million or whatever it was in Bitcoin. So this is the case. Now, the challenge was, if the customer wants to restore their backup, which backup copy do they restore from? If it was accessible even. Do they restore yesterday, the day before yesterday, or 1 month ago, taking into consideration that sophisticated attacks, the hacker might be in the environment for 1 or 2 or 3 months or 6 months or maybe 12 months. So which backup copy do we rely on? That's a $1 million question. Number two is, in this example, the customer had like 100 servers, 20 were encrypted. Automatically, as a human reaction, we will disconnect the 20 that were encrypted. But what about the remaining 80? Is the hacker in the other 80 or not? We really don't know. Mr. Saad mentioned about the radius of the attack and the footprint. You know, it's really big. So how can we reduce the damage? How can we control it? And the third dangerous thing is, even if data was restored, also Ruby, you mentioned about data has been stolen, right? So hacker can still blackmail us. And I agree. A lot of the breaches that happen is due to misconfiguration. Like the solution that you have in place works perfectly fine, but maybe it's a misconfiguration or something. So it was a very difficult situation. And then, on the same example, somehow the customer managed to survive and to restore the data, but the hacker told him, I stole your data. I have a copy of your data. I will blackmail you. I will report you even to authorities. So one thing that I see, which is funny, but it's true, if a hacker, let's say, attacks a bank, okay, and steals the data, you know how they blackmail this bank? They tell him, if you don't pay us this money, we will report you to central bank. So central bank will fine you, okay? So it's interesting how things are evolving. This is example number one. Example number two is one of the customers had a very complicated environment, but he said, he told me, Tamimi, I want to protect my CCTV cameras, my IP telephony, and my printing environment. I told him why. He said, because if a hacker managed to break a CCTV camera and connects their laptop and present his laptop as a CCTV camera, he will have access to my network. Or if he gets into the printing environment, he can then get access to the environment. So these are real cases that we see. And we did help them in like certain way to reduce the blast radius of the attack.
Very interesting. Yes, thank you for sharing these real examples. Anyone else? Saad, maybe you have some specific cases that are happening in your industry, fintech industry. Have you ever been blackmailed, like
Yes,
like Akamai's customers?
for sure. One of the biggest challenges for fintech or finance industry is let's say compliance to regulatory requirement. We have tough, mashallah, regulator who is SAMA, and not for one framework from SAMA a lot. For example, we have SAMA CSF, Cybersecurity Framework. We have SAMA BCM, Business Continuity Management. They also communicated the national framework from NCA, like DCC, like how to protect social media accounts. Also, we have NDMO, how to protect the privacy of data, how to govern data. This framework is issued by SADAYA and National Data Management Office. All these requirements, all this regulation or framework, we should to be comply with it. It's one of the biggest challenges for small or medium company like fintech, finance company, not like a bank, to be very comply with these tough controls. And based on the main one, which is SAMA Cybersecurity Framework, it's a lot of layers for maturity there. The minimum maturity level that required in our industry is level 3. Level 3 meaning we should have defined and document everything regarding each control, getting the approve for each one from the relevant people, from the committee or board or CEO. Then implement, not just define and approve, then implement each control that you written in your documentation and your policy, your procedures, your standard. It's one unique, I think you cannot find out this much of regulations in other industry. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Saad. You know, incidents are never fun for anybody, but Ala, you're a critical infrastructure, yeah? You're a mining company. I mean, if something happens, it can be a disaster. Do you have, fortunately, you don't have any examples of any incidents, but maybe some examples, or if you can't share them, maybe what are some of the additional controls that you imply to make sure that nothing bad happens?
Okay, since I'm working in Saudi Arabia Mine Company, which is the third pillar of the economy of Saudi Arabia. So for us, our critical infrastructure is very important for us to keep securing our industry. So as I mentioned before, we have the biggest challenge, which is the OT infrastructure. And beside that, we have remote area, planet around the world, around the kingdom, let's say not around the world. Around the kingdom, we have different remote areas, sites, planet, minings. So to keep securing all of that is a big challenge, because we are not talking about one DC or not one machine, it's different machines around the world. So for the OT, as I said, or the legacy system, they didn't design it with cybersecurity in mind. So it's hard to protect them while it's connected to the IT. Traditionally, IT and OT environment are separated. But however, every day, because of the digital requirements and automation requirements, everyone want to have automation, increasingly become connected to the IT, whether we like it or not. So it's really important to keep this connection secure. So what we are working on, or what we already implemented, is the segmentation between IT and OT, and make sure is the connection between OT environment and to the internet is secure as much as possible, do multiple channels. Maybe in some cases we have to build some tunnels for the connection. The second area that we focus on is the monitoring, the visibility on the OT and IT environment for us. If you know what you have, you can protect it. But if you don't know what you have from the asset, you will not be able to protect what this system and this operation. And for sure, what we are doing for like every other organization, or we are focusing on and investing so much on, is awareness and training. Not only cybersecurity awareness, this is a phishing email. No, we're talking about building the capabilities of cybersecurity team, building the capabilities of different teams around the organization to be able to manage and to distinguish any incident and report it. And finally, we're investing this year so much in AI technology to use it as a cybersecurity. So the AI technology able to do L1 instead of L1 hiring one, AI can do this detection, and we are investing more and more in technology for sure. So this is what we are doing. This is our plan, and we'll keep more investing in cybersecurity technologies to make sure our organization is protected.
Well, thank you for what you're doing. Ruby, you are a cybersecurity service provider. Do these cases sound familiar?
Very familiar, yeah. I mean, like, you know, we hear this so frequent. I mean, the thing that around the, Ala was talking about the, asset discovery, asset management, understanding that, from a real line of sight, what components exist within my environment so that I can better manage and better really, ensure that there's a high degree of confidence around what's going on across my network environment. I think that's critical. We deal with some large governmental agencies based over in the UK that have quite a dynamic approach to the way that they manage their business. They are in all countries at all times. So when they build up an infrastructure and they tear that infrastructure down, if they haven't got 100% visibility and 100% assurance around that environment, how do they then go and ensure that when they're reporting to the UK government, that they really understand what's going across their network? So it resonates very well.
Yeah, Ala mentioned monitoring and how it's important. Based on the specifics of your products, how do you think SOAR systems and SOC services can help companies?
Yeah, I think, look, a lot of the folks that we talk to, they're challenged with, I think, fundamentally two key aspects. How do we fully automate our environment such that we're not reliant on either tools which are consistently changing and or individuals that are consistently moving? So how do we fully automate so that, you know, if I'm here today, but I then lift and shift and move somewhere else, that the processes are in place to make sure that I can easily manage and make sure that my infrastructure is you know, robust enough to combat that. And I think that's quite an important area. The other big piece that we talk about, and certainly we see, is visibility. You know, how do I make sure that I've got, again, complete visibility, not just of the assets, but also the network components within my environment. And from our personal perspective, you know, we have this ability to abstract ourselves away from the components that are being managed and provide that high degree of visibility so that organizations, when they're making that change across their environment, they've got a real understanding of what impact that will have, not only in their network components, but also from a compliance perspective. So I think those kind of two things are quite critical.
Yeah.
Can I add also?
Sure.
Yeah, I agree with what Ala said. She said visibility is very key and the assets visibility. If I may add also to complement, which is very important, superior visibility is very important, but also listening to what you see. Like seeing is something, but listening, like I can see maybe 100 people in front of me, but what are they talking? What are they communicating? How can I segregate? How can I put more security measures so I can have better control and better visibility? But definitely, yes, it starts with superior visibility, but the ability to action, to listen and then take actions is very important.
Yes, and when you talk about visibility, sometimes it's difficult to cover all your infrastructure and be able to see everything. And if you want to listen to all of your systems, maybe it can even impact the business in some way. Some downtime can happen just because you are trying to look to. Is there a balance between how much we need to see and how much efforts we're putting on into that?
Yeah, that's why we're here, and we have a booth, is exactly to tell you, you can have the superior visibility. You can listen to everything in your network. You can see every single, especially east-west traffic communication, how applications speak to each other. Because as we see only one application, but there might be multi-layer application, how do they communicate? How can we improve the application performance and therefore customer experience? How can we improve the network performance? Everything might be deployed right, but then there is a huge traffic that we have no visibility on at all. And I challenge you, if you do, I give you 100% discount on my solution. But believe me, you will be shocked by the level of east-west traffic visibility, how machines are talking to each other, how applications are talking to each other, which is back to your point. Visibility is very important. But visibility without the ability to apply security enforcement, at the same time ensuring there is no impact on performance, is very key. And especially whenever there is an attack, you don't want to disconnect the server and therefore your service is disconnected. No, what about if even if your server is hacked and there is a hacker sitting inside the server, what about if we still guarantee that the application will continue working, the legitimate traffic will still continue working? What we will quarantine only is this malicious process. So this is like what we bring to the table.
Yeah. Saad, do you agree on everything that was said on the visibility? Yeah.
For sure. As much as you have the most sophisticated technology and engage it in your environment, as much you are mature to be able to detect, let's say, in earliest phases, the attack or to define the potential risk. Totally agree, yes.
Okay.
Allow me, Alex. Since we're talking about the visibility, I think we have a discussion early with Saad related to the cloud. So we're talking about the infrastructure, on-prem visibility, but we have the new challenge is the cloud application. So it's really hard to manage and it's really hard to have this visibility and to know what users are using application, which system are connected to the cloud. So I think when we're talking about the challenge, again, here of having visibility on our infrastructure and at the same time on the cloud. And moreover, everyday organizations are moving to the cloud solution, cloud infrastructure, PaaS, SaaS, and all these technologies for the cloud. So this is one of the concerns that I think every organization should consider. Are we having a full visibility on our cloud application, our SaaS, PaaS, IaaS? Do we know who accessing this system, what information or data is over there? So this question we are asking every year, and we keep monitoring through Cloud Defender, through CASP, and multiple solutions. But again, we don't have 100 visibility on things outside of the organization. We do have, yes, visibility on our infrastructure. We can have multiple solutions for visibility, monitoring, asset management. But for the cloud is a new challenge here, because even on the market, there is a limitation of the solution that integrable with every cloud application or solution. So we have some solution that applicable, or we can integrate it with some option or cloud services, but not with all the services the organization is using, which is again a challenge for us. So this is the only point I would like to add for visibility, Alex. Thank you.
Thank you, yeah. So we have our challenges, shared your cases. We know visibility is important. Today we're going to go home. Tomorrow we'll come back for another day of this conference. On Thursday, everybody goes back to work. What's your advice to all the people here? What are the steps that you think they should take to overcome these challenges? And what are the technologies that people need to think about today to be ready for something that's coming tomorrow? Ruby, can you maybe?
Yeah, I think, Alex, that, I think we understand as cybersecurity professionals that it's an evolving space, right? But as we innovate at the same pace of change, the bad actor is also looking to compromise, right? So I think that's pretty well understood. I think from my perspective, and as a vendor, right, look, you've just got to ensure that you've got a baseline, right? That your baseline, whatever that baseline is, it's consistent with what your organization is willing to accept as risk. Now, from our perspective, it means that when you are deploying policy into your network, you've got to have the level of assurance that it's not breaking your compliance stance, it's consistent with the access that you want to make sure that your organization is willing to accept, and moreover, that then is a repeatable process, so that when you're doing those changes, when you're making those policy amendments, that you've got a high degree of understanding of what impact that might have across your business. And moreover, that as part of your organization, that you fully streamline and automate as much of that so that you're removing that human error and that human element out of that equation. You shouldn't have to necessarily be managing individual components. You should really be thinking about, from a holistic perspective, how can I best get utilization and best value out of the investment that I've made. They would be the kind of 2 or 3 key things, I think.
Cool, thank you. Saad?
I think to addressing a lot of issues in cybersecurity and to find a way to how to figure out, I think you need to back to your cybersecurity strategy. Revise it again and see is there any gap between to have robust cybersecurity strategy, and it will be covering all issues or all gaps or all, let's say, concerns that you have. That's mean you have in right way. If not, that means you need to update your cybersecurity strategy. It should be robust, should be aligned with the business need, aligned with the objectives that expected from your function. Within clear strategy and robust, you can select the most fit technology. You can build robust team also. You can have highest level of maturity within, let's say, most effective management. I think this insight can help also.
And we also need to find people who will implement this strategy. Yeah,
It's part of the strategy.
Biggest problem. Yes. Ala, do you have a strategy, cybersecurity strategy?
So I think that's really good that he mentioned the strategy, because the strategy is the first part that we need to start with as a cybersecurity. Having a strategy, what our business is, what we need to focus on. So after building the strategy is one thing that important. So we have the strategy, we have the governance on place, and then we move to the most important part, which is defense, and then resilience. So it's more like a component that we need to review every year. It's not one-time action. So every year we need to check, okay, is our strategy is aligned with our organizational strategy, with our government and our country strategy. So we need to focus on all of these. After that, we go on the defense. What do we have? Do we have all defense on the place? Are we able to protect our infrastructure? Do we have the right solution to monitor, for access management, and all the domain of the defense? And finally, we talk about the resilience over here. Okay, so we have our governance, and that governance is implemented. We have the right defense on the place. But what if the incident, regardless of what we have and over there, happen? Do we have the right resilience? Do we have the business continuity plan? And even if we created the business continuity plan for this year, we're going to have more technology. We're going to have another critical asset that come on place suddenly. So this is something ongoing. Cybersecurity is not one-day action. We have to continually check what we have, our environment, our technology. So from my side, I really recommend everyone over here to don't consider I have everything in place on the organization. Every year, do have this assessment, do a compliance assessment, do audit or whatever. Check, are we implementing all our governance? Do we have the right defense? Our defense control, our system, they are doing what they are promising? As he said, maybe we say, okay, we have the right visibility, but are we covering all the assets? Can we see all our assets? So this type, we need to have it every year. We need to check it. Don't trust that, okay, we do have this technology, is doing what it's supposed to do. And finally, for sure, is, as I said, always, the awareness and training for everyone is very important, especially the top management. They are critical for the organization. Their understanding of the cybersecurity is important as well. Thank you, Alex.
Yes, thank you. And in terms of strategy, do you revise your strategy internally, or you can hire someone who will come in and help you with that? Because if you're lacking people internally, is it possible to invite someone?
So,
so
yes, from our side, we do have it like embossed. So our first strategy was built from third party, from external. However, our review of the strategy, we do have a team for strategy development within our organization. And right now, as I said, we already have a strategy built in place for 5 years. What we do that every year, we do the review internal. As I said, building the capabilities, have the right people and the training over there, with the top management, with the strategy team, and we review our strategy. Is it aligned with our organization? Okay, that's it. But every year we do this review, our business plan, our strategy, our initiative.
Okay.
I think that's quite an interesting question as well, Alex. I think, when I talk to customers, I think the key really for clients is they have to own the strategy, right? I mean, all too often, customers will go out, or organizations will go out to third parties to try and develop what that strategy needs to be, without having a real clean understanding of what impact that will have in their business. So the only comment I would make, that if you're doing that, you've just got to make sure that you own the strategy and you fully understand what the implementation and the impact of that will therefore be.
Hamad, what's your advice to companies? What should we do? What should we work on Thursday?
I can share an advice based on experience. I cover Middle East, Turkey, and Africa, and I travel to many countries. I speak to entities such as the Central Bank, or entities such as the SAMA or NCA. And the feedback I get is, which is coming soon, is about micro-segmentation. How you can reduce the blast radius of the attack. How can you have visibility of all of your assets. Customers adapting a cloud, moving from on-prem to cloud, and we see people coming from cloud back to on-prem. But regardless, how can you have visibility across all of these assets? But also, how can you ensure the same level of security? If you have servers on-prem, while migrating them to on-cloud, how can you ensure it will carry the same security policies because I think we're the most vulnerable when we start moving from on-prem to cloud. How can we ensure this? So I noticed micro-segmentation is a hot topic. And yes, we do sell micro-segmentation. That's why I'm mentioning it. But feedback I get from the customers, we've never, ever had such visibility. Seeing all of our assets, even not only the assets that we own, we see assets that are connecting to us. So visibility internally is very important, but also what about visibility that is coming from the outside? Who's trying to hit me? Who's trying to connect to me? At the same time, ensuring business continuity. Sorry to say this, but attack is happening sooner or later, right? It can happen from internal user. One of my colleagues says, if I receive an email saying, travel to the Maldives for $100 for 7 days, I know it's a malware, but I'm going still to press it. So sooner or later, there will be breach, either by accident or on purpose, reducing the blast radius of the attack, making it more difficult for the hacker to jump from one server to another server, make it like very, very difficult. So if you have 1,000 servers and a firewall is breached, for example, hacker can see this 1,000 firewall. If you have VLANs and you reduce it to 100 servers, still if a VLAN is compromised, he can see 100 servers. What about if 1,000 server, using micro-segmentation, you can have 1,000 mini data centers. So if one server is compromised, okay, you lost one server out of 900, out of 1,000, so 999 is saved. While before, with traditional segmentation, if there is a breach, it's a disaster. And what we say today is we are here in front of you, confirming that even our solution is not 100% secure. No solution is 100% secure. But what we guarantee to you is we're going to make it extremely, extremely, extremely difficult that the hacker who entered server number 1 to jump to server number 2. So we saved 999 servers in a nutshell.
Thank you, Mohammed. Regrettably, we are limited on time, so I need to wrap up. So I have my list of challenges. I've written them down. I have your cases that you shared with me. Now I know what can happen, and I will scare everybody with these cases. I know visibility is important, and I'm going to strategize on Thursday and revise our strategy and recommend that. And as my final point, Ali, you mentioned that sometimes you look at your infrastructure and find a system that you understand was built when no one maybe thought about security and cybersecurity. So that reminds me of a great saying that I like. The best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is now. So how about we go home and start working on this strategy. Thank you very much for coming and share your cases with us, and thank you to your audience for staying with us for so long. Thank you.